They do require a blood sacrifice.
Welcome to another episode of Chewing the Fat. I'm your host, Big Rob. Thank you so much for tuning in, downloading the podcast. I certainly do appreciate that. And of course, to the folks who have supported me by buying me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. Thank you so much for helping the pod keep going to be able to tell these beautiful, messy human stories. Joining me right now in studio, please welcome Will McCranie. Will.
Hey, brother.
Hey,
How
man.
are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Man, this is a treat for me to have you here. Will is, I know Will is a local musician here in the Augusta area, but he is so many more facets than that. An entrepreneur, the king of pickles. He's and just a genuine good dude. So thank you for coming and sitting in and chewing the fat with me today. I really appreciate it, Will.
Absolutely. Been looking forward to this call for years.
So. Yeah. Now I feel bad I hadn't called you earlier. So, Will, you're in Augusta now. Has Augusta always been home to you?
Yeah, born and raised here. I did spend most of my 20s in New York City, Sunnyside, Queens for the most part. But Augusta's home. I was gone for right at 8 years, and I've been home for about 10. So, I mean, it's definitely it's a place that, you know, while I'm from here, I've chosen this, and you know, I want to leave a better community for my kids and for the next generation, and so I'm really trying to dive in and make a point to, you know, do my part for whatever that's worth.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that. So when you were growing up here, like I said, I know you as a musician. Mm-hmm. Were you into music and that type of stuff? At a young age?
Well, I was obsessed with the Braves. It was the 90s at the time.
Oh,
and so,
yeah.
You know, to have them win a ship while I was in elementary school, that was a pretty formidable thing. Mm-hmm. I did, however, realize pretty quick that I was not quite the varsity athlete type. Mm-hmm. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I got bit by the music bug, and I was pretty, you know, sold on that path pretty much out of the gate. I didn't know I would still be doing it at this point, but I knew it was something that I loved, and just it had a mystique to it that knew I had to chase. So.
Yeah. And where'd you go to high school?
Sure. I went to Westside my freshman year. Got to do drumline for that, and march in the Peach Bowl parade, and on the 50-yard line at the old stadium there. In Atlanta, and
is that the old Turner Field?
No, the Falcons stadium prior to Mercedes-Benz, and I'm completely spacing on it.
The Georgia Dome?
Yes, that one.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow,
yeah. So got to be a part of that, and then I had an opportunity come up where I was able to audition for Davidson going into my sophomore year. I did drumline camp going into my sophomore year for Westside. Went to 2 days of school, and there was a note sitting on the passenger seat of my mom's car that said, "You're going to Davidson tomorrow." And, you know, I was horrified, and I was like, what have I done? And showed up in my my Letterman jacket for band, because and realized I was not nearly as cool or as good as I thought I was at the time. But that was a wonderful learning experience to go somewhere where, you know, everyone's invested. And being a creative, and you know, just kind of being that weird art school kid, and that was fun. Get kind of thrown into that.
Yeah, that's it's a interesting experience that even in your own, you know, your hometown, you can be that big fish in a little pond, but then you move to a different pond in your hometown, and you're like, oh, I am not as big a fish as I thought I was. But it's great for growth, I think.
I think everyone needs to get their ass kicked once in a while, and like I really recommend it. I mean, I think, you know. I'm a big advocate for know your weight class and just punch the hell out of it. But I'm also, once in a while, you need to step off in the deep end and see, like, how good or not am I?
Yeah.
And that's okay. No, not everyone does not need to be some, you know, stratospheric level success. I mean, you know, and I don't mean that in, you know, getting up, going to work or volunteering or raising your kids, that is a success. There's nothing, you know, it's all personal perspective. And you know, if you can get out of bed in the morning, that might be all you needed to do. And I've got to respect that. And this is sort of what I'm doing right now is kind of a reframe on my whole life and what I thought I should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And I think it's good to explore that.
Yeah. So when you left Augusta, went to go to college.
I went to college. I did 3 years it was still Augusta State University. Go Jags. And then I did my last 2 at Georgia College and State University in Milledgeville.
Okay.
No slight on ASU. I came back. I ended up getting my MBA from AU, and I worked for both the College of Nursing as well as AU Health prior to the Wellstar. So I spent almost a decade. I absolutely love Augusta. It was just at the time I needed a change of scenery.
Yeah.
And it was so that it was more about that than I think it was necessarily the school itself. Though I really enjoyed a lot of my capstone professors at Georgia College, and that was I needed to get out, not be in my mom's basement. That whole deal, and so that was a learning experience. But then came back to Augusta for about a year. I was on 95 Rock doing weekends. For them, I did the Friday, Saturday night, and then the Sunday afternoon shift. And I was working as a pharmacy assistant, and I did that for about 10 months. And but I knew that was going to be a short lived. I needed to go find some kind of adventure, and the New York thing came up, and it was a move. People took bets on how long would I be there.
Oh wow!
I think Jordan Zay had one that was about 2 weeks, and so as a
it feels good to beat Jordan in a bet. So
well, I mean, once in a while, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I would say I absolutely I love that guy, and that whole 95 Rock team from Chuck and Michelle and Cosmo on down. I mean, they were just so kind to me. So I appreciated that they would poke fun at me about things like that. But no, I'm one of those. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm typically that's the best motivator for me.
Yeah.
So. I didn't know it was going to be, 8 years later that I came back, but it was a fun ride.
So the college route, it sounds like you were going more medical, so not even business or music, but medical.
No, I was a marketing major.
Okay.
So my entire family was pretty much medical. My dad was a surgeon, mom's a nurse, stepmom was a nurse, stepdad's a dentist. Made sense that I was going to be that. My grandmother also said that I could choose one of 3 careers. I could be a doctor or a lawyer or an interior decorator.
Oh,
and
wow.
she said those were always needed professions. And I don't know exactly what she was saying about me with the third option, but I
got a good eye.
But I got to thinking about it, and I was like, that all those seem somewhat recession proof. So. But that really wasn't my calling. I ended up working for the College of Nursing and for AU Health, and that was a kind of a tribute to my family in some ways, because I see blood and I want to pass out, unless it's of course in like a Scream movie or something like that.
But that's fake,
I'm all about that life. But like you cut my finger in front of me, and I start seeing the white spots, and getting the cotton feeling in the top of your head, and things get a little squirrely. So. That was not my calling, but I wanted to support it, and I felt right at home doing that. And there was something really fun about being just on an academic campus, and even on the healthcare side, it was a learning facility, or a teaching facility. So, something very inspiring about that on a day-to-day basis, and just feeling like you were part of something bigger. So,
I love that.
So that was very cool.
So then, what was the siren call of the Big Apple?
Well, I read the book Into the Wild on. We went to New York for my grandparents' 50th anniversary, and I bought the book in the airport in Atlanta, and I burned through it over the 4 days we were there, and I finished it on the ride back. And on the plane ride back, I leaned over to my mom, and I was like, I think I'm going to move here. And to my surprise, her response was, okay, let's figure it out. Because she and I used to go up to New York a lot, see a lot of Broadway stuff. As I got a little older and started finding bands that I liked, we'd sneak a show onto something like that. And so, I mean, New York was a special thing for me and my mom. And I think she knew that I was comfortable there. And so I had a bunch of friends from Davidson that were all living there. A few of the girls I graduated with were cocktail waitressing at comedy club down in the village. So I don't know, that just seemed kind of glamorous.
Yeah.
And then there was just something that was, I mean, it was 2007 and we're watching, Entourage and all that. And you're seeing the boys from Queens. And, while that show hasn't aged well, that was very inspiring at the time of,
Right.
it seemed like an adventure. I thought I didn't really want to go die in Alaska, and the West Coast seemed too far, but New York seemed just attainable enough because I knew worst case scenario that was a 12-hour drive.
Yeah, there you go.
And I was like, I can knock this out in a day. So if I'm that scared, it's just far enough away where I can't run home, but there is that kind of ripcord aspect to it, and just dove into it. And that place is delightfully weird. It's kind of deceptive because I remember the first year I was there, I was living in the East Village, and I realized at a certain point, it had been a month that I hadn't traveled more than 20 blocks.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I don't think I've been outside of a square mile in that amount of time. And that's trippy.
Yeah.
To think about that, because it's just perspective of how big the world is and how small you are. And, we can go down a long rabbit hole with that, because if you think this world's big, then,
right.
Extrapolate that out into the universe and whatever you believe in for afterlife type things beyond that. And it's very humbling.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were you doing while you were there then?
My mom gave me the task. She's like, I'll get you your plane ticket up. You can stay with your aunt and uncle for a couple days. I also, asked, I was like, I'd like to go stay with one of my friends for a couple days too, just to not be in that kind of parental family,
like familial kind of,
right? Of just like, okay, this is what it's going to be like to kind of be out here on my own in the middle of this. So they fully supported. They were like, okay, go up there if you can find a job and you can find a place to live. So that was my task. And the job I found, if you've ever been to a big city and you've seen one of the kids on the street that walks up and just shoves their hand in your face and like, hi, can I talk to you about child poverty today? It's the crappiest job on the planet.
Oh, wow.
Again, cloaked in the idea of doing something very good. But when you move there on leap day, so February 28th, it's still very cold up there. Yeah. And you start this job and you're from Georgia.
Wow.
And it's 28 degrees and doing this slurry of snow and rain, and you basically have walking pneumonia and you're outside. It's rough. And that was where I thought, I was like, man, somebody's going to cash in on this short bet. And I sent an email to a Craigslist ad for a guy wanting to sell ads for an online wedding planning service. I thought he was just a wedding photographer that was, looking for, and it was a guy named James Nord. He's from Atlanta, and he was like, I saw this boy from Georgia, and I saw what you were doing, and I just couldn't let you do it. He was like, at a minimum, I had to buy you a beer and tell you it was going to be okay. And I don't know why he was, had that thought to, maybe he was bored. But that was one of those guys in the moments that changed my life. And I worked for them for about 2.5 years, where I was trying to find, open mics to play and things like that. Yeah. And it was hard. I mean, being up there, I went up because I wanted to play music. And I did a lot of sales and marketing things over the course of it. But, having a steady base in a town that's that expensive to just breathe in is a necessary evil. And, but it was good. So I started with that, and I ended up kind of selling pretty much any kind of new marketing avenue. I was with a group that we were quantifying social media management in 2010, when the average phone call was, my kids are on Facebook. And really for that, like the test case was TGI Fridays owner that he had about 10 locations, and his bar managers were running their Facebook pages. Bar managers would get fired or quit. Then they owned it, and we're just spewing all kinds of crap on there. And so we really sold it as almost an insurance policy of, you've got an outside third party that is going to be your voice of continuity, make sure that your brand is protected. So it's funny to see how that's evolved into this influencer culture. But did that, paid search, some events and things like that. And, and so that really, that started my whole marketing thing was I was selling it, even though I went to school for being the practitioner of it.
Yeah.
I became more the consultant side, and which was a cool to kind of flip it on the other end later, because I had just enough working knowledge of all these avenues to have kind of a holistic look. And I've always said marketing is as much kind of jazz as it is science, and there's some of my colleagues in that can do all these, attribution models that'll make your head spin, and it almost looks like the Matrix when they're running all these data points. And while I appreciate that, and it works really well for one part of my brain, the other side is just like, did that move you? Was that exciting? Because I think there's such a kind of an intrinsic loyalty thing that you're trying to, or excitement that you're trying to nurture, that and that's not always as quantifiable.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot of faith involved in that.
Because like you say, it's not instantly.
It's not instant gratification.
It's not instant gratification. It's like, oh, I've caused somebody to be reflective, and then in a couple of days they may decide to reach back out or whatever.
And the running joke was, well, if the marketing team is really working, it must be because the sales team is that awesome. And if things aren't selling, it must be because the marketing team sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't take offense to that, but it's a true statement. But again, the sales aspect is so much more. It's cut and dry. Of you cost X number of dollars to be here. You brought in X number of dollars.
Yeah.
Does that ratio make sense? We give you bonuses if you're above a certain amount of thing, commission, whatever you want to call it. But with marketing, it's so much more of it's kind of a feeling. And if everything's going great, then everything's great. And if everything's not, it must be your fault.
Yeah. Well, believe me, I know that from the years I worked in radio.
Oh yeah.
There's always the sales versus production battle, because sales will tell you, well, you have a salary because we sold blah, 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 blah. And production will tell you, if we were not here, you would have nothing to sell.
Correct.
And that is literally that's it. That's where it comes to a head.
And I also get why both of them are sitting there like, but hey, I'm the one that's driving. And truly they should be best friends, because it's like, hey man, I don't have anything to do without you. I don't have the funding to do the fun stuff we do without you. That's how you'd hope it would be, but
it never usually is. It always comes down to that, if it weren't for us, you wouldn't have a product. Well, if it weren't for us, you wouldn't have a salary. You know what I mean? It's And it's in every industry that has those two types of teams, the creatives and the sales. Always in television and radio and marketing, it's always.
I've seen everything from fights between senior pastors and music ministers to the chef versus the bar lead in a restaurant, on down. So it's really, it's just always, it's interesting to see who wants to take the credit and who's just happy to sit back and be like, I have a paycheck and I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's really interesting. Gosh. So then you. Well, which is great. That sets you up for great perspective on your own business that you have going on now. So New York, 8 years back in Augusta. I know you did some other marketing jobs and things like that with some venture capitalist places, some nonprofits, things like that. Where did Will's Dills come into play?
Well, to really do that, you got to go back to New York. So this was again around 2010, was a very there was a fever dream of this Brooklyn stay-at-home dad thing, and you saw it on TV shows, and it was everything from Bored to Death to Girls. It was a very kind of romanticized view of the sort of wandering artisan, male, almost flipped in. Not to say that was what I wanted to be, but there was this sense of, if you could make it at home, why would you possibly go to a store to buy it?
Oh yeah.
So thriftiness, I guess, was being encouraged at the time, which you could probably go back and unpack the fact that we were at the top of the recession, falling off a cliff, and no one realized that in the moment that was actually, fighting to live in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens or Brooklyn. Yeah. But anyways, we were going to have a Bloody Mary party, and it was a big brunch thing, and everyone was making all this stuff from quiches to Bloody Mary mixes and on down, and me and my buddy Noah decided we were going to make pickles. So we were like, how hard could this be? And so
cucumbers and vinegar.
Worst case scenario: cucumber, salt, vinegar.
Yeah,
problem solved.
Yeah.
And so I looked online and I was like, well, how do you do this? And I realized that these refrigerator pickles were pretty much an exaggerated version of my grandmother's marinated cucumber salad.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Bloody Mary party, what do we want? I was in the, spicy everything mode. So I was like, no, we got to have a lot of garlic because, got to go over the top with some aspect of it. We ended up toasting the coriander. I don't know why that was an idea, but that just became kind of a signature of it. And then I added, I scored a habanero and put it down in the pint. And so I had one jar that was just labeled pickles, and the other had triple X on it. And it was just like the old moonshine or the porno movie or whatever you want to call it. But it was, that was really the start of it all. And those were my favorites. And they actually evolved into our devil dills, which we're currently still doing. Long story short, this just became a party trick that anytime I would go home, anytime I would get invited to a Friendsgiving or something, they were like, you bringing your pickles?
Bring your pickles, yeah.
And that was just the thing. And then fast forward to, the COVID shutdown, I had just started dating my now wife, Lindsay, and we were out at Boondock Farms in Jackson, and the Acostas were showing us around, and, everything was lovely, and, tomato pies and, all these snacks and goodies. And then we finally got these pickles. And I looked at Laura and I was like, oh, did you make these? And she was like, no, why? And I was like, well, they kind of suck. And I'm sorry. I said what I said in the moment.
Yeah.
And, and she was like, what, do you make pickles? And I was like, well, actually, yeah. And Lindsay looked at me and she hadn't known me for that long. She was like, do what? And
she didn't know the pickle side.
No, she did not know that game. So we, we were sitting there talking, and it turned into a really kind of fun, bantering back and forth with it. And Laura invited me. She was like, hey, we're having this open vendor fair in, I think it was like 2 weeks. And she was like, why don't you make a batch of pickles, see how they do. So put your money where your mouth is. And so I didn't think a whole lot of it, but Lindsay being the motivator she's always been, and also the graphic design and branded merch part of it did not hurt anything. She shows up in my apartment with a bunch of mason jars and some stickers with labels and a design logo and a bag of cucumbers and some vinegar. And she's like, get to it, big boy. Show me your stuff. And I was like, oh, sheesh. So we made...
She called your bluff.
She did. So we made 40 or 50 pints. And that was the largest batch I'd ever even fathomed of making. Yeah. And I want to say, I don't even think we had a mandolin. I think I was literally cutting every cucumber with a knife, and making pickled chips, no less. So, I mean, that was a to-do. So made these, sold out in like an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. Not one to over assume or get too cocky off the rip, but I was like, all right, let's see what happens.
Could be lightning in a bottle. You don't know. Could be just a one-time thing.
So I put out a post on Facebook and I was like, hey, if I make another batch of pickles, for pickup next week, who would want them? I had 100 orders in about an hour.
Yeah.
And that was when I was like, oh my sheesh, what have I done? So I called two of my best friends, Josh Mason and Alex Wanziger. They had both basically been running the whiskey bar kitchen at that point. And so they came to my apartment and we set up a couple card tables in the middle and we knocked out 100 pints. And my refrigerator, I mean, we were giving food away to my neighbors at my loft. And because this was a 1,000 square foot, just open loft above Eubora in downtown. And so we didn't know anything about this. And it was, anyways, we pulled it off, and then we did it again the next week and the next week. And then we asked, I went and I called Havustry and I was like, man, what have I done? And he's like, sounds like you need a kitchen. And I was like, well, where do I find one of those? And he's like, you got any problems with coming in at night? And I said, no. And he basically tossed me a key to Fat Man's and was we're done by 5 o'clock. Come in anytime after 6, clean up
and turn the lights off.
He said, just don't let me know you've been here.
Yeah.
And they carved out some refrigerator space, and, it's just kind of off to the races. And we started selling them out of Southern Salad at that point. And again, it was just a thing that was going and going and going and going. And suddenly I was the pickle guy. I tried to play music in this town for 25 years, and I made pickles for a day, and that's what people are asking about. And then, COVID, I guess, resolved, whatever you want to call it, fizzled out, ran its whatever. I wanted to get back out there and play music. And, honestly, that was a business that had been built up for, 20 something years at that point. So, we just kind of were like, okay, I'm not quitting my job to do pickles. And it just kind of happened that it was just further and further apart from making batches. And so it just kind of fizzled out. And then about 4 years after that, I was really just running into some soul searching with like, what am I doing for a living? And, I'd been very fortunate. I've had some great bosses. I've worked for some great places. The last being the local Augusta CSRA Habitat for Humanity. And, everything was great. But I just still had this itch in me that I need to do something, and that it needed to be more creative and, kind of start to finish. I think that was more the artist side in me, that I needed to make something. And so I hit a wall one day, and I've got to give it to my boss at Habitat. She called me out, and but she did me a favor. She's like, well, I need you to figure out what you want to do. But she's like, I've got a sneaking suspicion this is not it. And she's like, I'm not kicking you out the door once you hear all, because I'd really excelled at that job in a lot of ways. And this is where I have this weird issue of, I've got an MBA brain on one side, and I've got the musician squirrel on the other that are competing. But a spreadsheet has always been kind of my friend for when I need to answer like a real just cut and dry numbers question. So I busted out a spreadsheet, and, the numbers for what I needed to do to make pickles some semblance of a job. I'm not talking about an empire. I'm not talking about a career, but I was like, what would it take to just kind of be able to keep doing what I'm doing right this second, but do it off of this project? It really wasn't crazy. I was like, if we're smart and we're, very careful to, control, quality and deliver a very honest and to the point product, I was like, the numbers don't have to be crazy. And, I also, one thing I've always loved about Augusta is we love local. And to the point that, I think that sometimes gets us in trouble because we're so hell bent on local that, sometimes we look past some other things. But, I was like, I think I'm going to take a bet on this. And I ran it by Lindsay, and I ran it by my mom, and then ran it by Lindsay's dad, who's a CPA. And they were like, well, you're kind of crazy, but this is doable.
Right, but it's not
stupid.
Yeah.
And, kind of the overarching thing was, if you've got this bug, you need to go try it and they're like, worst case, get another job in 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the worst thing that happens? You fall on your face, you admit it, you hopefully learn something from it, and you move on. Said best case scenario, you don't work for anyone other than yourself.
Yeah.
From this point. And there's, that's its own bag of crazy. But it's also, it's really rewarding. And, I went in there, and I had said in my head, I was like, worst case scenario, I am by myself with nothing but me and a mandolin, which if anyone's ever used one of those, they do require a blood sacrifice.
Yeah. Like
here and there, but
every 30th cucumber, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I was like, I might have to make 20,000 pints by myself this first year. And that was daunting because that's a big old elephant to try and eat. Yeah. But you do that one bite at a time.
Exactly.
And so we started off, and it's honestly, it's been great. I mean, in the first real month and a half of going out there, I was able to get about a dozen retailers locally, and I've intentionally have kind of pumped the brakes on that because I want to make sure that I'm able to sustain that and see what do those places turn into in terms of their run rates. The Augusta Green Jackets have picked them up. I mean, they're using them on every burger at SRP Park for the season. Second City has done a pickle cocktail at the distillery. Whiskey Bar did a burger of the month with that. Sheehan's has been running them as fried pickles, and on their burger, Arsenal has done a pickle special. I mean, it's a lot of these places have just stepped up, and it's been awesome.
Yeah.
And
And then you've got like the what is it, Good Earth Farmers Market? Because I've seen you
Lord.
there.
Good Earth. And I've got to give it to Paige over there. I mean, they have been absolutely a dream to work with, and telling me what I'm doing right. They're like, hey, maybe try this, not this. It was their idea. They asked about the pimento cheese.
Oh wow!
And funny enough, while it's not outselling pickles as a whole, that's the single highest selling item. And I introduced that about midstream over there, at that location, and that's wild. And that was just a happy accident because I let the brine cool before I let it see the veg, because I'm really, this is where you get into the nerdy, like
the science.
I want that to be such a crisp, kind of fresh thing that I don't want it to wilt from one hot. So I realized there was about an hour and a half that was in between. I started just making pimento cheese in there. I was just thinking, oh, well, this will pay for the cost of the cucumbers for the day, and I can do it in the time that I need to let it rest. Anyway, so it was purely, it wasn't something, I mean, I enjoyed the pimento cheese and I always made it as a gag around, golf week.
Tournament week.
The tournament
week.
And, I didn't mean for it to be a thing, but that's almost become a potential business in and of itself, which is wild. And I feel really fortunate that, there have been roadblocks, and I had one vendor that was like, our people just don't like your pickles. And I was like, cool.
Okay.
And there's no harm, no foul in that. I was like, this is the beautiful thing about food, about music, about anything else is some people love it, some people hate it. And honestly, if you're kind of liked by everyone, it's probably boring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny G is the most non-offensive thing on the planet, but no one's really putting them up there as the favorite artist that's ever happened. And I say that as with all respect to someone who has made an absolute killing off of being a very talented but very, I would say, risk-averse artist. Yes.
Quote,
right.
Safe artist, yeah.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I love it. Dude's probably making a killing doing what he loves doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, royalties alone.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like people that want to get mad because Taylor Swift did something. I'm like, what did that poor girl do to hurt you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than she plays guitar, wrote a bunch of songs. She's honestly, in my opinion, she's been doing such wonders for people like Bon Iver and The National and all these, indie hipster bands that I adore.
Mm-hmm.
But is now putting them on the royalties they're probably getting from co-writes on this are probably eclipsing anything they've ever done in their own careers.
Right.
So I'm like, it's not like she's not helping the industry as a whole. She's almost, outside of Jack White, single-handedly revived the vinyl industry.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But it's just funny. I feel like people just want to complain about anyone that's doing anything that...
It's human nature.
Yeah.
I think there's a part of everybody that just wants to complain about something. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because maybe they had the idea for wheel stills, but they didn't put the 1 foot in front of the other to actually start down that path.
Oh, I tell people all the time, there's nothing magical about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Other than just...
You did it.
Yeah.
You started.
Yeah. And at a certain point I said, hey, this is my job. That's literally, that's the only difference.
Yeah. And there's taking ownership of it that way to say, this is my job. This is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. This is how I'm providing for my family, or if you don't have family, providing for myself. And I don't have to clock into a job that that really didn't set me on fire. This is something that I can literally pour my heart, sweat, blood into and enjoy.
Absolutely. And I've got 2 daughters now, and the oldest she's just turned 2, and I want to have something that I can leave for them, or that is maybe an example of if you got a dream or something you care about, or just something you happen to be good at that doesn't aggravate the ever loving hell out of you.
Yeah.
And do it.
Yeah.
You only get a finite amount of time.
Oh yeah.
On this planet, so do something you care about. Preferably do it with people you care about, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah.
And so I really want to, I want them to see that. I want them to, again, hopefully it's something that they can have, and that'd be great. But if nothing else, I really believe like there's no sense in being miserable for the sake of, because I've seen a lot of very rich people that are very miserable. Because for every way you can find to make $1, someone's going to find a way for you to spend 2 of them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Take that for what you will.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And beside that, there is the and it's not even something that I know if you even realize, but there's that kind of altruistic thing of creating food. It's something that is going to, it's pickles. There's a certain amount of nourishment, sustenance in a pickle. Nobody's going to survive solely on pickles,
No,
but you are feeding people. You are meeting people at a place that is something that that we need to survive, and it maybe elevates that experience.
Oh,
I
think back to the first time I saw the Food Network when I was at school in Milledgeville, and I would sit there and just play guitar while I'd watch Emerald for hours on end. And I didn't realize there was something just so fascinating about it. And then I was marveled at my grandmother in her kitchen.
Yeah.
And when I was in New York, I got to be friends with some chefs there, and I realized, I was like, man, these folks are absolute rock stars. But it's in something, to your point, people meet, they either celebrate the best days of their life or, kind of wallow in the worst days of their life, but they do it around food. And it's either a comforting or a joyous or and it can be taken to, extremes and, things like that. But I think there's something just fairly just wholesome about food, for better word. And heaven help you if you're not putting a bunch of, things you can't pronounce into it.
Yeah.
One thing I'm proud to say is that the most damning item that I put in there is a salt variant, and it's because it helps with the crunch. But it's not some weird, 14 syllable compound that no one can describe. And it's just like that. That to me is very cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just, but to your point, it's doing something that typically people are gonna enjoy. And I just think it's fun because it's such a small idea. Because people open restaurants all the time, but I just want to be this little piece.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's like, man, I need a sandwich. Sandwich sounds boring. What if I had a really good pickle?
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's just, it's whimsical. It's, maybe a little bit too dreamer for, most people's taste, but for me, it makes sense. And,
And you had the perfect name to go with the word Dill. So
that was a blessing.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Shout out Tammy. Yeah.
So, Will, aside from your pickle making, what's bringing you joy now?
My girls are, that gives me something more than just, the need to get through a day. And, I will say it makes me want to work harder, and I find myself working more than I, had prior to that. But, it also gives a perspective of, I want a certain amount of bandwidth and a certain amount of downtime, to just be around. And, I feel like I just kind of talked out of both sides of my mouth with that, but it's I think you appreciate time a little more.
Yeah.
And so again, just trying to just show them that, go do something you care about. And, I'm working on opening a little cocktail bar and music venue downtown. And that's been a really fun project to put together. I like creating things.
Yeah.
For a long time it was writing songs, and, I'm definitely much more a performer than a writer at this point. Though I still think it's in me. I don't really have anything to complain about right now, other than than the price of gas. So and I'm not gonna go off on. I don't think being a political writer is in me so much. But it's I'm just kind of enjoying life right now, and it's a different space, but really just kind of doing things on my terms, and has been a lot of fun. And you still gotta. End of the day, you got to pay a mortgage or a rent or anything like that, and so you got to figure out how to make that math. But at other times it's just let's go make something today, and let's just try and do something positive today. So,
I love it. Yeah,
maybe that's a little esoteric or hippie or whatever you want to call it, but it's working for me at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think that's what we all strive for somewhere within us, is just to be a good person, to take care of the people that you love, to make a positive impact on the world around you.
Oh, and also just acknowledging everything doesn't have to be so damn serious all the time. I think there's something healthy about that. of just, I mean, there's a time and a place of like, hey, it's go time. I gotta really, put on my big boy pants and make this happen. And then there's other times like, is that really worth, spending any kind of effort, even if it's just complaining about what did that accomplish? Go do something else.
Just put a pickle on it.
Sure.
All right, Will, this is the second segment of the show.
All right.
This is where we dive a little bit deeper into your mental health journey. I definitely believe the more we can talk about these things, these days that we all have, these down days, everybody goes through them, the easier it is for us all to get through them, because then we realize we're not alone. So for you, how do you keep the darkness at bay?
Well, I went to therapy for a long time, and I highly recommend that for anyone that just needs a sounding board that is not your group of friends or the wall or your cat or otherwise. I think it's a wonderful thing. I learned, and I had more than one tell me this, I am horrified of sitting still, which is why I typically have so many projects in the air, which is why I'm, even when I was, working a full-time, senior or whatever type job, I was still playing 60, 75 gigs a year, which for me was a very low number at that point. But, I didn't know how to stop. But some of that is I have a hard time sitting still. And that's something I'm actively working on, especially with my daughters, is, just sometimes just being there is a big thing. But again, as I mentioned before, I think acknowledging that not everything has to be that serious. But also, I think there's a certain level of, when you start taking ownership of your own actions and the consequences of your decisions, good, bad, or otherwise, I think when you can get your head wrapped around that, I think it's less of any of that. I feel like there's a big temptation right now with social media to come from a very victim mentality standpoint. And look, there's bad stuff that happens to everyone. And there's, whether it's, coworkers, air quotes, friends, romantic relationships, family, other pressures. I mean, you talk about, government decisions that are affecting individuals. Again, and it just depends on what side of the coin you're looking at as to whether it's deemed a good thing or could be almost deemed as oppressive. But at a certain point, it's just taking ownership of, this is me, this is what I do, these are the actions I've made, I'm here, and I'm gonna go forward with it. And then also just little things and I've picked it up from both my mom, from church. Otherwise, it's just been, everyone's got a job to do. It's your decision to decide whether you want to do it joyfully. And work sucks any way you cut it. I'm literally making pickles with one of my best friends. I'm working on opening a bar with a guy who's become one of my dearest friends that I respect. And it's still, there's days that are, and I get to go play music. And typically for people that are having a good time, they've got good food, good drinks around, that thankfully at this point in what I'm doing, I'm able to also participate in. And there's still days that I'm like, man, I would rather be anywhere other than right here.
Yeah.
But, there's that just nagging sense of like, okay, I chose this. I signed up for this. So I'm gonna do a hell of a job. And I think just trying to stay motivated even when you don't want to. I mean, and I've expanded that a little further to, I've started just doing, and part of it was I got served a bunch of ads for it and I didn't want to do it. But like, the thing of just, I'm going to do 60 push-ups today. Doesn't mean I'm thinking I'm going to go to the gym and get swole, because I don't have the time or the patience for that. And I've tried to do that and I can't eat enough for it. But it's little things like that. And just deciding, hey, I'm going to do this. Or, hey, maybe I need a minute to just go take a drive somewhere, or go have a quiet moment somewhere, or, I'm going to go play drums for 20 minutes and just make some noise. I mean, there's just something that's not a part of it. And I think it's just, you got to stay stimulated creatively and, things that feed your soul. But I think you can choose to at least have the intention of having a good day. And it doesn't mean they all work out. And right. Some of them are going to suck. I'm going to come home just, cussing at everything, including the, temperature of the air.
Yeah.
But I think you can choose to go into it with, and we use this is kind of the running motto for my families. We're doing great. And take that for however you want to. I mean, it could be sometimes it's a little pandering, and it's kind of a sly joke between me and Lindsay of like, the world's on fire, but we're doing great.
Right.
But I think people can take that, and kind of apply it to, I think we're blessed to do these things. And I see musicians that get frustrated because they don't get the gig they want or anything like that. And I'm like, man, even at the crappiest of situations, you're making $50+ an hour to play guitar and drink beer. What is so hard about that?
Yeah.
And, there's nothing glamorous about it. Those gigs suck. And but you're getting to play guitar and someone's paying you for it.
Right.
And I would have killed for that when I was 16.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a perspective thing.
Yeah.
And really pushing for that. But I've lost friends to, suicide, to drugs, to just other bad decisions. And, those seem so permanent. And, it's just, I don't know. I have to believe there's always going to be a better day, but acknowledging that means you also have to acknowledge that there are going to be some days that are not going to be so fun.
Yeah.
And I think just having that sense of awareness about it, and you could do the Yoda thing, the do or do not. There's no try.
Yeah.
And that's everyone doesn't have those kind of decisions to make or just choices to decide to do that. But I think there's always something that you can be doing to, better your situation, even if it's just your perspective of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. They say, you control the things that you can control. You can't control those outside things, or you can't control somebody saying that your pickles suck and nobody likes them or whatever, but you can control how you respond to that. Mm-hmm. You can control the things that you can control. You can't influence somebody else to like a pickle that they don't like pickles or whatever, or whatever it is.
Or I'm sure there are people who've had a job for 10, 20 years. They've had a spouse for 10, 20 years, and they're like, I'm so bored with this. I'm so whatever. I'm like, but shouldn't you be grateful that you've had anything that puts up with you and you put up with for that amount of time? Because, think about the bandwidth on that, of what that takes off your plate. And that's just a pragmatic, there's no emotion involved in that. That's just if you look at it like that, it's like, having this job piece, which most people, that's a huge portion of what they're concerned about. Money is the root of most, personal disagreements, spouse disagreements, family disagreements, just general stressors on the planet. But, let's say you got that piece sorted out. You might hate it, but you've got that. Then think of what's all the other stuff I can do, because I've got, I know how the lights are going to stay on in this house.
Yeah.
I just think of, that's probably oversimplifying, and I'm not trying to Dr. Phil someone, but
no,
but I think sometimes we just need to kind of look and be like, what do I have going for me? And I think that would really change a lot of people's perspectives. And I'm not suggesting you get into like journaling of what's my daily gratification, whatever, but something to be said for that.
Yeah.
I've done all these gamuts of diving into, exercise, clean living, the meditation apps on your phone, reading motivational books. I think they're all great. Go to a concert, do anything.
Something that can refocus your bad day or whatever that's weighing on your mind, and you can add focus into something else, especially something that can feel more positive to you. And whether that positivity is you getting lost in a workout, or going hitting balls at a batting cage, or going to the golf course, or going to a concert for your favorite band, or finding a new band, or going to some restaurant that you've never had food at before and trying something that just kind of jars your brain into a different mode, I think is very important.
I think what I'm trying to get at is just open yourself to the possibility of being inspired.
Yeah.
And, that doesn't mean you're going to, magically have some life-changing moment, but I think it might change your day to day. And your perspective is, that's your reality. So, and again, I think some of that can be self-framed, and, because, people, going back to the music thing, people talk about, I want to record in the greatest studio on the planet with the best, best mics, best guitars, best vintage amplifiers. And I'm like, well, do you have a good song? Start there. And I think some of that again started with just intention,
Yeah.
because it's, crap in is crap out, even if you've, I mean, you can make chicken salad out of it, but,
Right. Right.
Whereas good in typically is going to be pretty good on the other side of it. I mean,
no matter what that microphone or piece of equipment or whatever it is, it's if it's within you and it's good, and you put it, because again, that's always the hardest step, is that first step.
Yeah.
It's easy to put those blockers of, oh, well, I need this microphone, I need this studio, I need this guitar, or I need, the perfect inspiration in sunset to paint this and blah, 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 or whatever.
And I've made the mistake of, hey, I'm going to go buy a $2,000 amplifier for a $200 gig, but it was because it was going to make me feel better about it. Again, that's silly, and I was blessed to be in the position to do that at that point. But, I mean, I was reading a thing earlier where it was a home studio group on Facebook, and they were talking about all these preamps and everything. Someone chimed in and they were like, you know that Adele did her first single on an SM58, which is a $99 microphone that has been probably used as a hammer as much as it's been used, actually to address a public audience. But it's, and I mean, and that same microphone, Brandon Boyd from Incubus was famous for that's what he used in the studio, because that's what he used live, and he didn't know how to sing any other kind of way. And again, it's a bunch of oversimplifications, but I think it's just do what makes sense to you, and do some put a little gusto behind it.
So it is time now, Will, for the third segment of the show.
Okay.
It's time now for the Fast Five. The Fast Five. It's time now for the Fast Five. Fast Five. Sorry, I'm still working on that theme song.
Is Vin Diesel coming through the door?
No, it's not the Fast and Five Furious. Fast and Furious 5. Family. The Fast Five is powered by Poddex. It's an app created by my friend Travis Brown. If you go to chewingthefatbr.com/Poddex, you can get a link to download it on your own favorite device. It's made for podcasters, but it's really great icebreaker questions and stuff like that. Definitely should check it out. But the rule is, it's the first thing that comes to the top of your head. There's no wrong answers. It's just whatever the question leads you into your answer.
Well, I feel like this is me getting recruited for improv at Lachette.
I mean, you'd see how you think on your feet. All right, you ready? Here we go. Question number 1. You can choose anyone in the world to become friends with. Who would you choose?
Ooh, Chris Thiele.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I just want to see what goes on in that bluegrass, caffeine-addled mind of his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and he's a mandolin player.
Punch Brothers, Nickel Creek.
Yeah.
Goat Rodeo. He's had a bunch.
Yeah. Great. And he host Prairie Home Companion for a while on tour?
He did. He had that running until the funding finally ran out. But that was a very cool era of that. And, and really even more music focused. Collaborations with everyone from Corey Wong on down. That a whole lot of fun there. Yeah, and he did one with Yo-Yo Ma as well. Yeah. That was one of his bandmates from the Goat Rodeo.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. Right. Question number 2. What's the best compliment you ever received?
Ooh, it's I think it's funny. The first time I had someone tell me that I was a decent singer, because for as much as I've always put myself out there, singing in front of people, I've always been much more of I'm a guitar player that happens to sing because I don't know anything, better to do. And, but it was, I think that was a pretty cool moment, because I truly think I probably performed in public presenting myself as a singer for 20 years before I actually thought I was halfway okay at it. And so, and I still know I've got a very unique, I don't think it's a traditionally good or great or anything in that kind of voice, but figured out how to make it work. And anyways, that was a cool moment. Yeah.
I love it. Question number 3. What is your greatest fear, and how do you manage it?
Again, sitting still is probably my truly biggest thing. There's some more like existential, sides of that of, I want to make sure I'm still here to see my my daughters get married or, figure out who they are. And I know I can't control that, but again, some of that is just accepting what you've got control over and, just trying to work the best you can with that. And again, just that positive framework. It's tough because there's another side of me that I get so frustrated with people that can't do it. And I'm like, I'm now being frustrated. And it's the same thing that I'm trying to tell people not to do, which is, so, I think just be your best cheerleader, I think is a good way to be, and to give yourself some grace too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just gotta you gotta wave the white flag for a day and be like, nah, this ain't gonna work. I need a moment of zen.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Question number 4. So do you like to plan things out in detail or be more spontaneous?
Combination of the two. So one of my favorite bosses of all time, he realized something about me that was I need freedom within a framework. And that's a lot of, I need to know where the guardrails are. But I also need to be kind of given the autonomy to, have a little jazz about how to get around to it. And that goes back to even, whatever my prowess is in a kitchen is I can't bake to save my life because I can't follow something. I can, but it bores me to tears.
Right.
But, if there's, okay, I know where I'm going. I know what the ingredients are to some degree, but it's going to be a little jazz of how do I get here.
Yeah.
That seems to work for me.
Yeah. Pinch of this, splash of that.
Right. And I feel the same way most of the time, with music. I'm most at home when it's very well rehearsed, but then when we also kind of all agree, cool, we're walking on stage and, screw the rules.
Yeah.
We're just let's see what happens.
I love it.
So
I love it. And question number 5. Name one thing on your bucket list.
I still want to jump out of a plane.
Oh, parachute included or not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I'm hoping it's the first of numerous times doing it, but I will also say there's a certain sense of having kids that I'm like, do I really need to do that? And I've actually, Lindsay has given me a gift certificate to do it.
Wow.
Never have ever done that. And so it's not that it hasn't been offered, talked about, but sometimes you just got to get to the edge.
Yeah.
I also said I would never get my ear pierced, which it was not a great look for me, but I had that for a while. And I also said I'd never get a tattoo. And then one day there I was sitting in a chair and, so I'm not saying never, but, I got to wrap my head around that and kind of reframe that a little bit. But, honestly, I think, if it was something a little more, I guess, pragmatic, which probably isn't the really the focus of a bucket list item, is just getting to a point where I can, kind of just enjoy the day to day a little more versus checking off what do I have to do, which I guess means I just need to make it long enough to retire. So, and hopefully young enough where I can still walk around. Yeah. So.
Oh, I love that. All right.
Yeah.
Side questions in that. What's the tattoo? What was the first tattoo?
It's my one and only. And that's little broken compass, pork chop. Zimmerman drew it.
Oh, wow.
And I got it shortly after our pal Philip Lee died, because we had always said that he wanted to take me to go get one, and I never did it. So, again, I don't know that I would. If you asked me today if I would have gotten it, probably not. But it's there, and my mom doesn't quite want to stab me as much as the first time she saw it. So we've got that going for us.
That's good. That's good. And also, I was going to say, as far as jumping out of the plane, they have like that indoor skydiving thing, and there's a place in Atlanta you could do that just to get a taste of it, just to get a taste. It's not the plane, but it's you get the feel of the rush of the wind. I'm just saying it's an option, and the kids could go too. Not at this age that they are, but but when they get a little older, maybe. Yeah,
but I could also watch a fish show on TV. I'd rather actually be in the pit.
Well, I mean, you're jumping into the wind. Yeah. It's just not out of the plane yet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying baby steps. That's all.
Okay.
I'm just saying baby steps. That's something Lindsay could do with you as well.
That is
be
true.
Like, hey, we can go do some tandem wind tunnel diving. I don't know what you call that thing.
Yeah. Floating.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
How romantic.
Yeah. It's like Tinkerbell.
Sweep her off her feet.
I know, right?
Well, that's our Fast Five, and that's the show, buddy. Thank you so much for being here.
This was a treat.
No, this was awesome. If folks want to keep up with you, you personally, your music, or Will's Dills, what's the best way they can do that?
Sure. For music, it's just willmccranie.com. For the pickles, it's ilovewillsdills.com.
Okay.
And then if you want to know about the bar and venue, that is offtherecordaugusta.com.
Okay.
And that's got links to all the socials and all those good things. But if you can find one, you can probably find the other.
Okay. So. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure I put those in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for being here, buddy. I love you. I love everything you got coming to you and that you're doing. And, man, I really do. I love your dills, bud. I mean, I really do. I really do. And again, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
And if you would like to support this podcast, I'd appreciate it if you bought me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. But until next time, I look forward to the chance we have to sit a spell and chew the fat.